And let's talk about this Bob the Drag Queen situation where, he went on his sibling rivalry situation and talked about it. So the other day, I had to redo this topic because when I did this topic previously, I didn't realize that the audio from Spotify did not play and nobody could hear it. Well, it was playing, I could hear it, but I didn't know that everybody else couldn't hear it. So I'm like, and I was editing the episode about to upload it on YouTube and everything, and I'm it's separate thing, and I'm sitting there like, well, damn, I saw the eyes watching, but nobody told me that the shit didn't work or they couldn't hear nothing. So basically, it's just a bunch of blank air, and then you hear my opinion. So I'm like, let's just redo the topic and, whatever. So the other day, Plain Jane went on the Give It To Me Straight podcast, which is a podcast that is done by Maddie Morphosis, the first ever straight drag queen to ever appear on Drag Race. So she has her own show called Give It To Me Straight. And so Plain Jane gave her side of the story and said that a lot of the drama transpired before she was on, before she even did the whole Burger Finger situation and all that other stuff. And Bob had heard her side of the story. Now, I didn't know that she had told, because I was like, when I first did the story or whatever, I was like, oh, I can't wait until Bob gives her side of the story of what Plain said. But then the same day I did the story, I didn't realize that Bob actually did speak out on it, because Out magazine, I said Art, Out magazine did a whole expose, did a whole story on it, and they added that Bob did, go on the Sibling Rivalry show, which was their April 29th episode, and gave her side of the story. And Bob says, I was the reason Plain started doing drag. Bob told Monet, who hadn't heard about the situation. She said, but it's not because she was inspired by me. Bob then explained the full story shared by Plain and added a few comments along the way. Plain goes, in that moment, the way that Bob looked at me like I was nothing, like I was just an audience member, like I was just a prop and she was the star. I was like, I was the star and you were an audience member. The season 8 winner continued, I don't think I treated you mean. I just asked you a question and I gave you a prize. How did that turn into your villain origin story? Mama kudos for saying that, for resenting. But I didn't say anything mean, Bob reaffirmed. She was an 18-year-old Jewish kid. Monet chimed in, whatever, that's how she took it. And look, I don't feel like what Bob said was bad, and I said that in the last article that I did, which was the one prior to before I even knew Bob spoke out about it. I was like, I feel like you're just trying to cook up something because you want them fans that like Plain Jane to feel empathy for you, and you want to cook up this whole situation of like, oh, she's being mean to me, she's bullying me. But then, sis, if you could, the one thing I don't like about not just the drag race girls who bully, but I don't like the people who, in general, who could dish it out and can't take it. If you're gonna have this whole story arc of you being a villain and you poking, being mean towards people, especially how you treated a mandatory meeting throughout the show, which a mandatory meeting's facial expressions during the finale will forever live rent free in my brain. But if you're gonna come out here and you're gonna play this whole thing of you trying to be the Mistress Isabel Brooks of your season, or the Fifi O'Hara of your season, and you want to throw shade, you got to be able to take the criticism as well, not only from the other queens who read you down to the floor because she be thinking she could eat, she ate with her reads and her shade and stuff, even though Mistress, which I felt was a cackle, had to come and pull you in and teach you the art of reading and shade, which is like being a homosexual 101. Like, those of us who live in that whole life, like, you learn the art of reading and stuff. Like, I learned from the best of the best. A lot of older Black queens taught me how to read down to the floor, and a lot of my trans friends taught me how to read. So that's what you need. You need that person that can really bring you in. If you're gonna be that girl, you got to know how to back it up, and also you got to be able to have that thick skin where you could take the reads back at you. And I don't feel like what Bob said was bad. If I'm a queen on stage, Chad, you better be glad Bianca Del Rio didn't see you in the audience and come at your ass. Like, you would have got it worse from her. And she's an insult comic. But Bianca also allows you, like Lady Bunny, to read her back. Like you can come for her too, and if you funny, she gonna take it. It's like, okay, you got me, bitch. Like she'll that's what she'll say. So I just feel like a lot of y'all just be, throwing rocks to hide your hand, and then you get mad when people call you out on your shit. And my thing is, girl, if you're gonna be in this business, you want to develop a thick skin. So at this point, I'm like, does Bob need to respond, or does not even Bob already responded? Does Clay need to respond? I feel like at this point, can y'all just put this to bed? I'm tired of talking about it. I don't feel like there needs to be a back and forth between the both of you. Bob said what she said. Plain said what she said. Bob said what he said back. At this point, I feel like y'all need to go y'all separate ways. Y'all don't need to make this thing. We don't need a whole back and forth between y'all. You're just gonna have to agree to disagree and feel how you feel. And if you're a queen with a microphone on stage and you're a personality type or whatever, that's been a known thing to go on in drag shows where it's just like, okay, so you're in the audience and I'm the one on stage, and it's like you with that big old head. Or you say little things to make people laugh because you're dealing with a bunch of drunks in the audience. So you say things where it's just like, okay, I'm gonna just poke fun or whatever the case. That goes on in drag shows. So we're gonna get to a point where everybody's gonna be sensitive. Um, then you just need to stay home and just don't go nowhere, because in life you're gonna have to deal with some shit where people gonna say things that's gonna piss you off or hurt your feelings, whatever the case is. Grow a thick skin. And I feel like a lot of this younger generation, a lot of y'all lack that. A lot of y'all lack a thick skin. Like I said, when I was growing up, I had to grow a thick skin. Like we had to just deal with stuff, and you had to learn how to be tough out in these streets, because it's a dog eat dog world. Eat or be eaten. And if you can't take it, sis, then like I said, then maybe drag is just not a gig that you need to continue if you're going to sit up in here and play this victim shit with, for empathy and for points on social media. So